Hey, what's up gamers? Today let's talk about a special topic that's bound to ignite some nostalgia. We're talking about those games from the past that we played maybe more than 10 years ago and had a lot of fun with, but for some reason we forgot that they even existed. So before we jump in, try to bring some memories back and let me know in the comments which games you remembered recently, ones that brought you joy and excitement but you had completely forgotten all about. And maybe if you think this topic is interesting, we could make it a series. Alright, let's get into it. We start with the first game, Murdered Soul Suspect. This supernatural detective thriller was developed by Earthright Games and published by Square Enix. Released in 2014, the game puts you in the shows or rather the ghostly presence of Ronan O'Connor, a detective who's brutally murdered and must solve his own murder from the afterlife. The gameplay involves investigation, possessing humans and piecing together clues to unravel a larger conspiracy. Despite its unique premise, this game faced mixed reviews and landed with a Metacritic score of 59. However, it was beloved by many for its engaging story and atmosphere. Personally, I forgot about this one and remembered of it for no reason, so I decided to make a YouTube video on the subject. For the next game, we've got a classic that probably defined late-night split-screen session for many, 007 Nightfire. I received it as a gift for my birthday and played it on the first Xbox, you know, the one with the huge controller. Released in 2002 by EA Games, Nightfire let you step into the shoes of James Bond himself, featuring Pierce Brosnan's likeness. The game took players across exotic locations with a mix of first-person shooting and vehicle sequences. Remember that snowmobile level? The game's multiplayer mode was also a standout, often competing with the likes of GoldenEye 007 in nostalgic debate. With a Metacritic score around 80, Nightfire was considered one of the best Bond games of its era. Even if it's not the last good one, we could talk about 007 games for a long time here, but maybe in another video. But now let's move on to another game, a true hidden gem for me, which unfortunately didn't have the success deserved in my opinion. Bulletstorm, developed by People Can Fly and published by Epic Games. It was released in 2011. This over-the-top first-person shooter was about thriving in chaos. You played as Grayson Hunt, a space pirate who crash lands on a dangerous planet and fights for survival while exacting revenge. The gameplay emphasized creativity, rewarding players for pulling off flashy skill shots with weapons like the iconic leash. It had humor and a lot of action. Despite a respectable 83 on Metacritic, it struggled with sales but gained a cult following for its humor and adrenaline-pumping action. Next, Prototype came out in 2009, developed by Radical Entertainment. This action-adventure game introduced Alex Mercer, a shape-shifting anti-hero with amnesia and a serious grudge against those who turned him into a superhuman experiment. Set in an open world in New York City, you could run up buildings, absorb the identities of NPCs and unleash a series of devastating power. I remember playing this game in high school after classes and makes me realize as the time flies really fast, guys. So many good memories. Oh, the game was well received for its chaotic gameplay and earned a Metacritic score of 78. It was the perfect blend of power, fantasy and mystery, though it's often overshadowed by its superhero counterpart. Now here's one that truly deserves a spot on the forgotten gem category, The Darkness and its sequel. Released in 2007 and 2012 by Starbreeze Studios and later Digital Extreme. These games were based on the comic book series of the same name. You played as Jackie Estacado, a mob hitman who gains supernatural powers from an ancient entity called the Darkness. The combination of dark storytelling, emotional weight, and dual-wielding supernatural abilities made this game stand out. The Darkness 2 took a more stylized comic book art approach, and both games sit around 80s range on Metacritic. Unfortunately, the series never continued past its sequel, and that's very sad. Let's move on. Did you ever heard about Condemned: Criminal Origins? scenes. This one is next on my list. Developed by Monolith Productions and released in 2005. This first-person psychological horror game was known for its gritty, tense atmosphere. You played as Ethan Thomas, an investigator chasing down a serial killer while dealing with the supernatural. What set Condemned apart was its brutal, visceral melee combat and the genuinely unsettling environment. With a Metacritic score of 81, it became a cult hit but often gets overlooked in today's horror games discussions. Now we are going back in 2009 with the Saboteur, which brought an intriguing twist to the open-world genre. Developed by Pandemic Studio, it tells the story of Sean Devlin, an Irish race car driver turned resistance fighter in Nazi-occupied France during World War II. The game's most striking feature was its will-to-fight mechanic. Areas controlled by the Nazis were depicted in black and white, gaining color as Sean-inspired rebellion. With its unique art style and blend of stealth and action, the Saboteur received positive feedback but got lost in the shuffle, holding a Metacritic score of 72 only. Now this one is a real nostalgic game, an alternative to GTA games in the early 2000s. Yes, we are talking about the Getaway, of course. This is a gritty crime drama developed by Team Soho and released by Sony in 2002. Heavily inspired by British gangster films, the game follows Mark Hammond, an ex-con which is forced back into London's underworld after his son is kidnapped. It featured realistic depiction of London and had a story that really felt more like a crime thriller than a video game. Despite some clunky controls, The Getaway was praised for its cinematic storytelling and innovation. It holds a Metacritic score of 72. Now we all remember the Driver games, but this one in particular, released in 2011, Driver San Francisco by Ubisoft Reflections, was a breath of fresh air in the racing genre. The game follows Detective John Tanner, who, after an accident, finds himself in a coma, but with the ability to shift between any car on the road. This shift mechanic added a unique twist to the gameplay, allowing players to perform stunts and orchestrate car chases like never before. I couldn't stop playing this game for days and weeks. It was really addictive at this time. It scored an 80 on Metacritic, but unfortunately was quickly forgotten amid other racing franchises. Finally, last but not least, and you know that the list could continue for hours, I picked here the Godfather, the one released in 2006 by EA Redwood Shores, which brought players into the world of the Corleone family. Set in an open-world New York City during the iconic events of the film, you played as an original character, rising through the mob ranks. With a mix of loyalty missions and free-form crime gameplay, the game was well received, holding a Metacritic score in the low 80s. While not perfect, it did justice to the film's atmosphere and delivered a solid mob experience. As a fan of the Godfather films, I felt immersed in the game and felt like a real gangster back in the days. Yeah, very good memories. And there you have it, 10 old good games that deserve a second look even today. If any of these jogged your memory, or if you have your own hidden gems to share, drop them in the comments and share your nostalgia with us. As always, don't forget to like or subscribe. It's really important and very appreciated here. Really, it keeps me going, guys. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy gaming everyone. Bye bye.